All right. Welcome, everyone, to the 8th episode of Sales Hacks. I'm your host, Ryan Maggio, joined by Ross, A.K.A. Corporate Bro, Chris Cabrera, CEO, founder of Xactly. It's Dreamforce Week.
Crazy week.
And we're here at Wind Down on Folsom. So if you're in San Francisco, come on by at 2 o'clock. But we don't have to be on the show floor. I mean, that's kind of cool.
It's ideal, frankly. I mean, the madness. I know you guys have been many times, but yeah, you can't drive anywhere in the city right now. So I'm glad to be here drinking soon. Oh, with you guys. So yeah, I mean,
my apologies.
I think this is my 18th or 17th or 18th Dreamforce, because we launched the company in a little bit in 06 at the at Dreamforce when we came out.
Well, I mean, we were talking about at lunch. Dreamforce has changed. I mean,
Thank you.
Pre-COVID, it was 120,000 people.
I think at the peak, it was crazy.
I mean, and you walk out today, you could actually, to your point though, it's still crowded, but it's not as sardine-ish as it was in previous years.
No, but my social anxiety is worse than it's ever been. So it's just kind of like I'm good on that. But
no, I mean, it's always a fun time. Be safe out there. This is Sales Hacks. The biggest sales hacks is Dreamforce is not a place where you get promoted. There's been many, I'm sure
career-limiting decisions have been made,
especially today. The first day is things.
I know there's parties tonight. So to any of my sellers out there, be smart.
It's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
It is.
Never mind the fact we're drinking during the middle of the day.
But but we're seasoned professional.
Right.
I mean,
right.
I personally feel lucky. I'm joined by an actor, a writer. I lead a software. I did coach baseball last night for my son's 10-year-old pony team. So
Did we win?
It was just practice.
Oh, okay, just practice.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Are you good with the fungo?
We don't do fungo. Sometimes they make me mad, so I just
pull out the big bat.
I just pull out the big bat and go for it.
Just rope line drives little kids. Yeah,
they're 10. They can handle it. There's no crying in baseball. But no, I mean, cheers, guys. Let's start, Chris. Before we get into it, cheers. I don't know if you want to tell us what we're drinking here.
I think we're drinking you have the bottle. It's the 2021 Cabrera Cellars from our family vineyard. And I think we made arrangements to get you your own very special glass that apparently holds an entire bottle.
It holds an entire bottle.
I'm dubious, but that's what they tell me. It looks.
I mean, no, we shouldn't. I'm getting told by our producers not to do
the. Don't pour the whole bottle.
Lawyers are saying no. That's fine.
But before we get into it, because we're going to talk about a little things. I know, Chris, you have a big announcement that's coming up. Why we're having today, what's being launched.
Yes.
So we want to make sure we touch on that.
I was going to announce something else. I thought, oh wow, he's already.
No, my wife's not pregnant, so that's knock on wood. That's a good thing. But talking about you have creative or the Cabrera Cellars, the creative stuff, Ross. It's great to have you because I think it speaks to the creativity that's still out there and talking about creativity with sales. So I don't know if you, Chris, I mean, if you haven't, for all those watching, Cabrera Creative on Instagram.
Oh, yes. Nice plug. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Yep.
So
comment, subscribe, get in there.
Ross has a ton on Corporate Bro. So I think you could always use more though, right?
Give me a few of yours. I need some more. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm here. Drive some followers on over.
So how did you guys balance that though? I mean, think about corporate world, the creative channels. How did you bridge that gap? Right? Because it's completely different.
It's very different. I think for me, creative started as catharsis for the corporate world. It was hard. There was a lot of BS. You're selling, you got your quota from the big dogs at the top. But, so how do you work through it? And for me, it was making fun of the job. Yeah. And it there was no greater intent. Everyone's like, oh, why did you start it? Because you want to be big and famous, and which is still would be generous to describe it as that. But no, it was because it was healing for me in these struggles of the corporate world. It just so happened that we were eventually able to marry the two after about 10 years.
That's great.
Don't sell yourself short. You are big and famous. And
but you did this because you love alcohol and you needed something. You needed something.
And I'm terrible in front of the camera, so I couldn't. There was no chance I was going to make it on making videos. And I'm not that funny, so I don't have the humor that you have. So I figured I had to do something different. And wine was certainly the start, but I think more of the creative stuff I do some stuff with wood and all that. And pottery and all that. I just find I didn't think of it as that. I didn't go into it saying, oh, I need to, an outlet. But what I found was when I started doing these things, it took my brain away from like the heaviness that you have with all of the things going on in work. And it kind of just once you clear your brain a little bit, I think you can make better decisions ultimately. So for me, that's why I like it. And, I try to do as much as I can just because I find it to be very freeing.
Mm-hmm.
And the more creative you are, the more creative your brain will be, I think. If you're just totally focused on, oh my God, I got these deadlines and all these problems, I think that just sort of feeds on itself. And so my commercial is get creative, be out there doing creative things.
Yeah. And I mean, creativity we just had our care week a couple weeks ago, and there was people that did calligraphy and they did, different types of dancing. I'm not talented in that form. I
would love to have seen those dances.
That was not me.
It was pretty amazing. I was amazed how many people got up in front of the whole company, like on Zoom and everything, and did these crazy dances. Like, I could never do that. I mean,
No.
You're not the boomer executive team that comes up on SKO and is like, I'm going to do a TikTok. And then you get you get real cringy.
There is a video out there. I don't know if it's on our YouTube channel where he did the Michael Scott. We first went back to the office in 2021.
Oh yeah.
And it was like, it's Brittany, and then he says that, I don't know if we can say that. Nope, I'm getting told.
We have sponsors.
Yeah. There's so many lawyers back here. It's so nice. Thank God.
Remember
HR's here too.
Remember we tried to do that. What's that? Remember that one that was I can't remember.
It was the mannequin challenge.
Yeah, we tried that as a team, but it turned out to be a lot harder than it looked on Instagram.
Yeah, it was not our finest moment, but it does. I have a comment here. It does look like Ross has wings with the background. It's very apropos of the beauty that is Ross.
It was one of the demands I made to be here.
You should have seen the list in the green room he had to have. But
they made it happen though. I'm not mad about it. I do look kind of nice. Wow,
I know. It looks
gorgeous.
See that? But it really is a pleasure to have you guys on today and talking about different things. The first thing Chris wanted to go into was you wrote a book. We did our prep call. Ross has feelings about salespeople and books.
Books for salespeople. I mean, unless it's like a picture book or like a pop-up book, most salespeople, unless it's a comp plan, then they become PhDs in literature. Otherwise, they can't read. In my experience, as one who can barely read.
Yeah, and as a former salesperson myself, I agree with you. But this is not really a book for salespeople. It's a book for people who lead and manage salespeople or are CEOs of companies, and they care about driving revenue in a different way. For so many years, it was just growth at all costs and just sell. And everything was just about, bang the phones, make calls, it's a numbers game. The more calls you make, the more thing. I mean, I get all that. And we grew up that way, right? I think today it's much more about the quality of the sale. So it's more, how do we, sales are still important. The numbers still matter, right? But how do you get there by maybe thinking through the balance of the sale, the profitability of it, mixing the products, selling more profitable products, discounting less, all those kind of things. And so the book is called The Unicorn Fallacy, and it's primarily sort of poking fun, I think, at the unicorns, and here growing up in Silicon Valley, the big unicorn thing, companies that get $1 billion valuation while they're still private. I've always been a little bit jealous of, and maybe because we didn't get there as a private company. We went public in 2015 before we got there. And so I've always been a little jealous of it, but also I always thought it was kind of a stupid thing because people were so focused on growth and not at all about the quality of the business. And so, now we have these herds of unicorns running around the valley and everywhere in the world, really. And it just sort of seems like an oxymoron to me because, they're supposed to be rare and they're the last thing but rare. Although, in the last couple of years, I think most of those unicorns are experiencing an existential threat, or they're about to, and so maybe they will end up going the way of the dinosaurs.
They're limping all around.
Yeah,
it's interesting because I've seen a lot of these companies, and I'm curious your thoughts on how we got to this place. But you see these companies that are essentially features built on some other platform that they don't even own, and they're raising at $1 billion valuations. How do you think we got from there to here?
Well, I think we got there because the people that invest in companies, all they cared about was that valuation. And,
The bloodthirsty VCs.
hey, we love them. And I certainly,
yeah, no, we love them. For sure.
Life, the salt of the earth.
yes, here's to all the VCs out there. They've been great.
The blood of salespeople always goes down smooth.
So
Sorry, I was getting my VC hat on.
I think that there was greed that drove the desire to just get higher and higher valuations. And so, you saw these companies that we compete with a company that got like a $2.4 billion valuation. And
Name and shame.
Name and shame. I can't do that.
Name and shame.
$50 million or something in revenue. Like, that's a joke.
We'll look
right.
them up.
And now today, of course, all those executives have stock that's worthless. They could wallpaper their bathroom with it. And, and they know that they got to stay 5 years to grow into that valuation. So it puts them in a really tough spot. And I think the answer is to focus on quality of running the business, get a company that's making money, is profitable. And, I think it's so funny, you talked about going to business school before you got started. I went to business school. Yeah, you got to drop that. Oh, did you go to business? Oh, I guess you didn't. But anyway,
I went to school.
Hard
Knocks.
Yeah,
Hard
Knocks.
Right. After the San Jose State.
The San Jose State, we had an impressive win against Cal Poly.
You almost beat SC in the first half the other day, which was
we covered. That's all that mattered.
I know.
In that game, we covered.
Yes.
So we'll go into
Spoken
sales
like a
tax
degenerate.
episode 9. Jordan, take that down. What does covering mean? We'll go into sports betting as the alternative to sales tax.
Yes. Now I've lost my whole train of thought.
Well, so let me go back to kind of what you were saying. I mean, you think about sellers and these companies that got the unicorn valuation. They were all promised like, hey, come join this huge OTE. You're going to get 1 million shares.
Sold the dream.
And it's
Am I the only one drinking? Because I feel like mine's almost.
no.
This is a gigantic glass.
No. I mean, I'm just.
I mean,
Fill it up. Find out. Give me a straw.
But I mean, it's going into when you think about selling this new generation. So they all want that like, hey, I'm part of this $1 billion company, and it's like you're never going to realize that. You're never going to make the days of like I used to hear about how NetSuite reps like they would all one day they IPO'd and then all these reps came in Porsches and all these expenses like that's far and few. That's why it is a unicorn. That doesn't happen every single time.
Yeah. And I think now the unicorns will be, I got my thought back, more talking about the business school thing and learning how to build companies that make money. Like, we didn't go to business. I had no classes that taught me how to lose money. And yet I've been running the company for 18 years and we lost money for 16 and a half of those 18 years. Like partly because the VCs, God love them, they didn't want me to make money, right? Like if I had made a profit, they would have been like, you're an idiot. Go, spend more in
Invest in
marketing,
growth.
right?
Yeah, I
invest
didn't
more
need
in
to go to
growth.
business school to know businesses are in business.
Isn't that
to do
incredible?
Right, can we just hear ourselves? Invest in marketing.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
So anyway, I think the future is balanced. People talk about this rule of 40 thing, the combination of your growth rate plus your EBITDA percent. Yeah. And
Yeah, please. Just get going.
I think that
Feed the beast.
the go-go days was, 40% growth, 0% EBITDA, and the new world. And this is primarily what I talk about in my book is a balanced approach, 2020, 15, 25, somewhere in those kind of numbers. I just think that's a much more healthy business. And they're more fun to run a company like that than it is, these wing walks of 40% growth and zero profit.
You were even talking about that for how you think about your small business yourself. And it's like, that's a big focus.
Yeah. I mean, for the longest time, it was just growth. I mean, I was in a fortunate position and no, I've never taken VC funding for corporate bro. I don't know how much upside there is in that, but, the shift had recently.
You're going to get some calls after.
But there's sponsorship opportunities.
I will sell out for very little.
It doesn't matter what industry you're in.
I will do it. Anything.
Gambling companies, anything. You'll
Yes,
take it all.
yes. My brand is all over the place. But yeah, I mean, there's been a shift of, well, how do we make this about making money? And if the growth has to suffer as a result, that's okay. Because at the end of the day, Corporate Bro is a business and I'm trying to run it and I enjoy what I do. So yeah, I mean, it's the difference is though, I'm curious about your thoughts on the effect of sale, like towards salespeople, like what's going to happen in the future? What does the future of sales look like as we, in your words, or not your words, but my words, maybe shift to more low and slow growth, profitability, balance the two?
Well, I don't think low and slow is necessarily the answer. I think that part of it is when you're in this growth at all cost mode, you hire too many reps and you're just driving them to sell more. In the new paradigm where you care about profitability, you have less reps, which means you have larger, more healthy territories. So the amount of volume per rep may not change, right? So you're still driving performance at the rep level. My only thing, and the big piece that we talk about in the book, is to change the quality of the revenue. Like, don't just think about like the world of a rep today versus when kind of we grew up. I'm probably older than both of you, but we didn't care. We didn't think about, it's like I had to sell this. If I could get you to buy that, that's all that mattered, right? I didn't worry about, I also wanted to sell this with it, and this is more profitable, so I wanted to discount more, and I wanted to sign you on a 5-year deal instead of a 3-year deal, and I wanted there to be upsell. And that was all like, are you kidding? We didn't think of any of that. It was just brain dead, sell the box, sell the thing. Today, it's so different, right? It's, for my son's a young sales rep, he's grown up in a world that's very different. It's all about the quality of that sale, thinking about these things that we never had to think about, right? And the good news is there's all these great tools to help you do that, right? There's tools to help them identify what to do and what, how to close things, or, like we talked about forecasting, and I know that's a big hot button for you. I think we have some mugs here that we're going to be giving out at the after party. What does your mug say? It says, something about forecasting.
Have you updated your forecast?
Yeah, have you updated your forecast? The world of forecasting has changed so much because we're using AI, right? So all of a sudden, these reps have the ability to have their whole pipeline be kind of analyzed by these things that are not human, and be able to say to them, "Hey,
they're totally not going to take your job. So
don't worry about it.
They're going to make you better at your job."
Sales will be the last job that AI replaces. It will ultimately replace it, but that's way down in the future. I'll be
fine.
This is your kids is
But imagine if you had those bots when I was starting my career that were literally going to tell me, "Hey, you're working on these 100 deals, and when we compare those 100 deals and we pattern match it to deals that have closed, this is what you're missing, or this is what you're not doing." And it's listening in on every call that I make, because we use Chorus and we're recording all those calls and we're transcribing. I mean, the world of technology is pretty crazy.
And I mean, we should just clarify, because there was somebody that worked with us at one time that thought there were actual robots, but they're not. It's the machine learning.
It's
it
a
does
large
all
language
that.
model. It's generative. You wouldn't get it. But
Yeah, I mean,
gotta go to business school.
Yeah. Well, speaking of sadness, Ross, that's a very near and dear term to your heart.
Sadness
Sadness stands for sales or dope.
Oh, yeah,
Never ever
right.
stop selling. It's like the new ABC.
Yes.
It's the younger.
How'd you come up with
version.
that?
You want to know the real story?
No. Just
Yeah. The fake
The
story
PC
is
story.
I was gonna use another acronym, and I was like, "You're better than that, dude. Use a better word. Like, find a better word."
You'll never get a sponsor with that one.
Yeah, no. I was just sitting at my desk at Glassdoor, and I was staring at my computer with my forecast on one side and my scripts on the other side, because I work really hard. And I decided I watched the movie Dodgeball, where they have a whole intro on how do you play dodgeball, and that's how I modeled it. I modeled sadness after that, and it was a different acronym first, but sadness.
So for the audience, explain the sadness. Is
stands for sales are dope, never ever stop selling.
sales are dope.
It's like always be closing,
Yeah.
never ever stop selling, because if you
Nice.
do stop selling, like, all the great parts of sales you're not going to get the money, the pride, the glory, right? All those things. And it is sadness. Sales is sadness at the end of the day. It's a lot of losing. We lose professionally frequently, a lot more than we win, but you got to celebrate those wins. And that's why it's dope. And you never ever stop selling. Otherwise it's only sadness.
It is. It can be very much only sadness.
Wow.
There are good times.
There's great times, the best times.
Maybe you should put that on the mug with.
I got another mug.
You have a sadness mug?
Do you haven't gone to his corporate bro store?
I mean, I'm sure I have.
I mean, I've been targeting you with that.
Target.
It's one of my saved,
Target if you're
links.
listening.
Yeah,
Joanna
right,
Gaines.
it's bookmarked. It's
Joanna
fine.
Gaines can pick up the sadness
Right.
line.
I mean,
Yeah, I like that.
brutal.
Do you need like a guitar and like just play this whole sad song?
I should,
Talk
if I had
about
any musical
sadness.
It's
talent
like
at all.
Alanis Morissette.
You don't have any musical talent?
I mean, I can spit bars or whatever, but like,
Wow.
I can't play
The
an
fact that you can
instrument.
say that.
Yeah, I mean,
Means he raps.
yeah, I mean, it's whatever. Grew up in Atlanta. It's whatever. I know a lot of rappers.
The ATL.
Not really. I don't know any rappers, but question for you: do you think sales, like as a profession, is going to consolidate? Reps will become more powerful with all this technology. Are there just going to be less sales reps who are more well equipped to just drive more business?
I think that what what we're talking about with this shift toward quality means less reps who are better quality.
Right.
And the reps who will survive are the reps who embrace technology and don't fight it and realize that if you don't acknowledge or accept that these tools are available to you and AI in the background, and you try to fight it, all your peers that embrace it are just going to pass you by because you can't compete with it. You just can't. I mean, the AI is literally telling you what to do. It's literally saying, you're going to lose this deal effectively because you haven't done these things, because it's looking at that in the context of every deal that's closed. I mean,
right.
And so why would you fight it, right? My thing is just, embrace it. But yeah, I do think because the shift will go to quality. And now what I'm curious about is when the market comes back, does the greed just kick right back in and everybody go back to this selling at all cost and, growth at all costs? I mean,
somewhat.
I kind of think
maybe
so.
not 100%.
Yeah.
I think human nature is it probably will, but I still think the unicorns will be the real unicorns, the rare companies, party foul, the rare companies that
was just my
can
phone.
do both, can do growth and profitability. Those will be the true unicorns.
Well, and I think that it's going to be, you think about, a company growing 20, 30% that's doing 600 million a year. Like that's a huge number to grow year over year. Like what can you actually expect if you're a publicly traded or a VC company to grow if you're doing, upwards of 2, 3, 4, 5, 600 million a year? Like there's only so much you can sell. And it's like, to your point, getting better
I feel like
profit.
he's negotiating his comp right now. He's like,
I can hear
my
it.
quote is way too high. I need a lower quota.
I didn't say that. You did.
But I feel like that's what you're saying.
I think it's just he's trying to lower the growth goals,
Right.
so that he can blow it out.
I'm all about quality.
Because I think
Right.
the
He loves intelligent
quality.
revenue.
Because here's the key. The key thing is the bigger you get, the larger your install base is, the more you can upsell those existing customers. So
Which
in some
goes
ways,
into the tech
Which means we have a functional
consolidation.
product
should grow
team
even faster.
making a better product that more people. Anyway,
Yeah. Anyway, I mean,
that's not our
I don't think we have 2 hours to go
Yeah.
through all that. But kind of going into that, though, I mean, we're talking about why aren't deals closing more right now, right? And you think about the sadness, you think about the AI. What advice would either one of you guys give to a seller out there that, hey, they're down on their luck? I mean, Ross has done videos on this. Go check out his YouTube series, by the way. It's really good. It's 8-part series.
Sad sales are dope. That's what it's called. YouTube, Google search it, you'll find it.
We know we can
If you can find a prospect to sell to, you can find my web series. I assure you.
if you can't find it, you may want to consider a different
marketing.
We know the majority of reps have time in the day to go watch a 20, 30-minute YouTube video.
Yeah. Well, when they're not busy uploading notes to Salesforce and all that stuff,
But going into it, like, what's your guys' thoughts? Like, where's sales going? What advice would you give to somebody right now that is experiencing true sadness in sales?
I'll defer to you first.
Well, so I'm old, and
Yeah, you are.
I'm really old.
No, we know.
So I used to come from the world of everyone has to be in the office, and I want to see the whites of their eyes, and I want to, and I of course through COVID, changed that position somewhat. But I will tell you, I think if you are early in your career,
Hold on, I'm going to stop you. You're going to get mad. He used to come around with a clipboard. He would print out the opportunities.
I was known for my clipboard. I have all the opportunities.
God.
I'd come sit in your office, and I'd be like, Russ,
Coach
talk about
Cabrera.
it. Yeah,
Coach
let's talk.
Cabrera. just
Like
got the whistle.
we would do the caca like as he was approaching. Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, I remember years and years and years ago, before any of you were born, I started working as a inside sales rep at a company called Silicon Graphics in the early 90s. And I learned more over the cube wall and, just listening to other reps do the older, more senior reps do their thing. And I worry that the folks that are new to sales that are working in their houses, just how can they possibly get that? I think they're missing out on that. And as much as I know they don't want to come back to work, they love their freedom, I'm just telling you, for your personal career advice, get your ass into an office and learn from the people around you, as hard as that is. I'm not saying 5 days a week. I'm not saying crazy. Just get in a couple days a week. And because I just think you're at that point in your career where you're learning so much. Some of it's not through the normal channels, like, watching a video or YouTube or this or that. It's just listening and watching other folks that have been at it a number of years do it in advance of you. That would be my advice.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, to all the folks who are going to hope that I'm going to say never go to an office, I completely agree. I think about everything I learned was the 2 dudes to my right and left. The
Dude,
top
cheers to that.
the top reps that
Hey.
I heard that I would go listen to get
I
sound
thought
bites
it was
from.
the
biggest
I thought it was
influencer
gonna
we've
get
ever
Christian.
had.
No. You're like, I mean, look, I can't imagine making cold calls in my apartment right now by myself. I can't. It was
Because you know what you said, this whole sadness thing, it's more, the job is about rejection.
Yeah.
9 out of 10 times you're getting
Mhm.
rejected. And when you get rejected, if you're home alone, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but like, you need someone around you to go get back on the phone, like listen to them. They're getting back on.
our sad walks. We go outside, may or may not have a jewel, can't condone it. It's
Yeah.
bad for you, but it might help when you're like commiserating with one another. It was like, I'd have a rough call. I'd go to my buddy on another team. I'd go to his desk and be like, yo, like, guess what just happened? And like, Slack isn't the same. The like communication, like Zoom's not the same. And it's hard. I can't imagine the tribal knowledge that's lost by just not physically overhearing calls and so forth.
Well, and it's on the reverse side of that. When you get a deal and there's something happens, like we have a bell, we have gongs, and like you ring that bell and
Not
you're
a
like,
gong. We don't use gongs.
oh yeah, we don't use a gong anymore. Yeah, we're pro Xactly.
Bells. We use bells.
We use bells.
Other sort of loud instruments.
But I mean, it's that set, like the quarter. I just remember quarter ends. We'd have a monster quarter, and our old director of commercial sales would bring out a bottle of Blue Label, and we were just drinking, and we go outside and smoke some cigars. People would, oh, that person obviously slept in the office last night under a table. Like, it was just fun.
Yeah. I can't imagine being an SDR right now who's at home.
It's tough.
I really can.
Yeah.
But I mean, it goes back into it's a different generation of sellers. Like, we have people coming into the office now that are SDRs. This is their first time ever coming into an office. So you look there, you're like, oh, you can't wear that T-shirt. I think that one guy at one point wore a Up in Smoke T-shirt that had Snoop Dogg and smoking some
Let him be himself.
stuff. But it's
every rep's doing it. Let's not pretend like
We
we're not.
banned that? Is that
well, we just said it wasn't the most appropriate. It was
like, hey, you can't do that, dog.
Yeah,
You can't do that, dog.
That definitely did not make it to my desk, so I don't know who we did.
But I mean, it's just a different level of how people interact and what they want, right? You have to almost clear the mechanism to be able to go back. Hey, I would love to be able to sit at home all day, but going to the office, like, there's benefit to that. You learn from your peers. You know how to take rejection, right? To your point, if you're an SDR cold calling all day and you're just getting told no and hung up on, you want to commiserate with somebody else. No, hey, it's not just me.
Yeah.
Well, I think it also goes back to what Chris was saying about the creative. Like, some people need a separation of we'll call it church and state, so to speak, of professional and personal. And like, if I'm in the same room that I sleep, that I'm also getting torn apart on sales calls, like it all blends together and becomes time is a flat circle whole like piece. There is no way for me to decompress because I'm always in the same space. And so for someone like me, I like going into an office. I enjoyed it, but I will say you can be successful without doing it. You can't, if you go listen to chorus calls, you want to listen to everybody's, you have to be really proactive and really diligent about making that happen. And a lot of people just aren't. I wouldn't be that way personally.
Yeah. So you think about, we talk a lot about salespeople, right? One of the things is how do we motivate and think about the non-tech workers, right? Because there's so many different industries that
turns out there are other industries. I didn't know, which is weird. Yeah. People do
this
other
is
stuff.
brand new information.
Yeah. Tell me about these industries.
Sorry, I'm getting a little sidetracked. But I mean, you think about the number of companies where it's, people, DoorDash, Instacart, Uber drivers. How do you think like motivating them and AI will play into what they do on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I think no one is going to be immune from this. And I think it's really interesting to see, even in our business, where, kind of historically, traditionally, the majority of our business has come from high-tech companies that have sales teams, kind of the commissions we know and love. But, we've started to see this, influx of customers that are, I won't throw out names because I'll probably get in trouble, but extermination companies, these pest,
Right.
Just give us contract values.
Big contract values, like hundreds of thousands of dollars, upwards of $1 million. Yeah.
Over $1 million.
Over $1 million. Some of these-
Multiple millions.
It's whatever.
Yeah, but these are pest control companies, right? And there's a plethora of these companies, and I would have never thought that even a few years ago, right? Years ago we signed a company with the Australia post office, right? So, like thousands and thousands of people at the post office. I would have never thought that they would care about commission, but, I think it's becoming much more widespread. And I think you start to see non-traditional areas. I mean, retail is blowing up for us, which has been awesome. These big, especially some of the big luxury brands. So I think it's every company. Anybody who sells anything of any type is going to be affected by all this.
Yeah. Well, how do you think about motivating people? Like for the leaders, right? This is a book targeted towards leaders. How would you recommend they go about managing folks, especially during times of immense change like this? It's very hard. I don't think there is like a silver bullet. If there was, you'd be a Nobel Prize winner at this point. But what do you think?
Well, I had a boss years and years ago who used to beat into my brain. You get what you expect and inspect. And his point was, you can set a quota for somebody, but if you don't constantly inspect it, it's not going to happen, right? And so I think what we need is leaders who care about the quality of revenue. And so when they care about the quality of revenue, that means that they care about the next level things down from just what was the ARR of that deal, right? We just did it. Oh, how big is the deal? 800K? Well, I can show you a 400K deal that's, to me as a company, worth twice as much as some 800K deal that he tries to close that, is terrible for the business. You know what I mean? You have to look at
that seems like another dig.
No. I
just don't understand why you would do that.
No.
It's fine.
It all tastes like chicken at the end of the day.
The point is quality matters. And I think to your point, if these managers and leaders start focusing on quality, they should build their plans around quality, their plans for the leaders, as well as the people below them. And when they do that, you will shift the thinking of the organization, because what it does is it sends a message to everybody. These are the things that are important to us. And notice it's not top line revenue growth at all costs. It's more about what's the quality of that deal that we're closing. And there's umpteen metrics that we talk about in the book that we give examples of what things that they should be focused on. And I just think, can you imagine a company that embraces that? It'll change the whole dynamic of the company. And you're talking about, something that has incredible ROI because it's the revenue of the company and the quality of that revenue.
Right. So it sounds like you're saying you need to incentivize the right things, right? Because I mean, at the end of the day, like let's be honest, SDRs they want to hit their numbers and they want to go home and live their lives. Like they don't care too much about the same things that you do in terms of like the overall health of the business, as CEO, like founder. Like this is your thing. And for a lot of them, like they're just not going to feel that way. So to incentivize them in the right way through comp plans and through managerial kind of input and so forth, that's how you're going to drive that systematic change.
Yeah, like you're talking about SDR. So the comp for an SDR might not change because at that level, it is a dial. You're just dialing for dollars. You're just trying to get the leads. You're not so much caring about quality as much. Although I can make an argument. It's as you go up the chain and you start talking about these reps and these account executives that are closing 50, 100K, 200K, 500K deals. That's where the quality metrics, I think, can really make a difference, right? And you really, it's not hard to go sit with the CEO and say, hey, here's a 100K ARR deal that has a 35% discount or 50% discount. What's that worth to you? Versus what if I change the product mix? What if it was a 5-year deal? What if it had a CPI plus 3 or 4% increase per year for the next 5 years? I mean, all of a sudden that deal over here, even though it goes on paper, it still is a 100K deal. Right. It's a very different deal, right? That's a deal that if you extrapolate that and say, hey, we do 500 deals a year. What if all 500 deals look like that? At the top line number, they might look the same,
sure, totally.
But underneath that, the businesses would be dramatically different. That's not that change isn't too huge, but you need to address it and accept it and change the compensation to drive it.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about.
So we're almost at time. Loaded question. And we'll go to Chris first, Ross, then you can give your perspective as well.
Sure.
What's the biggest takeaway from your new book, The Unicorn Fallacy, and why should people read it?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that a balanced rule of 40 company is the healthiest. And if you buy that, and that's important, and you believe you want to do that, the book is going to give you a whole bunch of ideas on how to make that happen. And it's not a panacea, right? It's just it's going to give you some idea grenades that allow you to go, huh, I'd never even thought about that. And it's so simple. All I have to do is change what I'm motivating people on, and I'm going to see that effect. Because, you know, if you change the behavior of one single rep, and you have that multiplication of effect of having 500 reps or 5,000 reps, think about what that does to your business. So the book will help you think about granularly, how do I do that?
Yeah. What would you say to people, Ross?
Why would people buy the book, Ross?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, other than the fact that
He's a
New York Times
sponsor.
bestseller and they've paid me an exorbitant amount of money to say this. No, but I do think that this book comes out at a really important time, arguably a huge inflection point in the world of sales. I think having granular and tactical actual things that leaders can do and employ is extremely important. There's so much fluff in so many of these books out there. And that's why, you know, at the end of the day, sales isn't going anywhere, regardless of all the AI stuff. It is still the most important role there is. Driving revenue could not be more important for a business, but it does have to change and it has to evolve. And so, you know, why not get some advice, information on how to do it?
Yep.
Buy the damn book.
I mean, there's going to be
Amazon.
There's
Leave
going
a review.
There's going to be a link on our website to go to. We won't send, or maybe we will send Ross to your house if you don't buy the book.
Sell you some solar panels too.
And
while I'm there.
if anybody out there sends me a LinkedIn note, we'll make sure to get Chris to sign a few copies, and we can ship them out to you as well. So Chris, get your auto pen ready, because it's a lot. It's going to be a lot of signatures. But want to thank both of you guys. It's Dreamforce Week. Be safe. Be smart. Go find some deals. Go connect with some people. And cheers, guys. Episode 9
Hell of a
coming out
time.
soon.
Cheers.
Awesome.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah.